Hello, everybody. Hopefully, everyone can hear me. I'm going to take you through a um, brief uh, demo of some of the stuff you can do. At the top, you should be able to see a status guy. So if you have a question, you can raise your hand. If you click that little arrow next to the guy with his hand up, you can agree, disagree, and you can tell me to speak up or speak softer, speed up, slow down, that kind of stuff during the presentation. I want to thank everybody for joining us for our next webinar. We're going to be covering a couple different key pieces of information in here, mostly descriptions. So we're going to go over um, listing with descriptions. What else here? Covering some automation with descriptions using variable stuff like that. JC is going to pop in and give us some demo and basically some hands-on examples of using descriptions in the software. And then at that point, once JC is done showing off what you can do with descriptions in SixBit, we're going to open it up to a Q&A so users, so you guys can come in, ask questions, give us any feedback or what you want to see in upcoming webinars and that type of thing. So without further ado, JC, are you ready here?
Yeah, I should be good to go.
Okay. I'm going to kick it over to you and then you can start it off.
All right. All right, folks. I am JC Ryan. I am the senior CSR here at SixBit. And today I'm going to be covering a whole bunch of stuff, but mainly little things that don't get enough attention. Let me get my screen up here. And you can see I've got SixBit here. Now today I've got a stack of DVDs over here. I'm going to try to get listed up really quick. And to do so, I'm going to start off with an item template. If you don't know what an item template is, it's basically, as it's described, it's going to hold a lot of the commonality between different things. So I'm going to make a DVD that I keep in the back room. I'm going to make this a DVD and movie, Blu-ray disc. All my discs are in good condition, so I can set that in my template. I can set my payment policies, my return policies. Yours may not look like this because the account that I'm using is currently using the eBay business policies and not the 6-bit presets, but it's the same deal either way. You just set your policies. Anything you want common between all of these things. All of my DVDs today are going to go up for $7. No description, and I should be able to save and exit this, and it's going to be an item template called DVD. So what I can do with that is create a new DVD by clicking DVD here. My item's going to pop up. All of these things are already populated for me. All I have to do is add some add some description text, a product ID if I have one, which I do. It's just the UPC code for this particular movie. Now, I can either go through and set all my item specifics, or I can do a match on the eBay catalog. So in this case, I'm going to just do a search for this. And it's going to populate a lot of these details for me. I don't need to worry about the item specifics because I'm going to include the product details, and it's going to send these details for me, which is going to save you a lot of time. I can also send the stock photo with the listing. I can use that as the gallery image in the listing, and they've typically got a lot of good quality pictures for these things, but I still do have to add a picture of this particular item, and that's the item that I took the picture of earlier. And if I added some description text, I would be good to go if I could spell description. However, there's another little piece of information that gets awfully overlooked in a lot of places. If you come into the search with preview here, You've got these tabs across the top, and you can add your own tab. Now I'm looking for description text on a lot of these, so I am going to add myself a little tab here. I happen to know that there is a resource called the MovieDB, so I can add the MovieDB as a tab. I can chuck this in here, and in my URL, if I want to use these keywords that you're seeing up top, which is going to be the UPC in this case, I can add it right to the end here by going tac keywords, and I can stick this right in here, and it should give me a new tab, but it's not going to at the moment. Why? There it is. Forgot the capital K. So now I've got this extra tab here. So what I can do with this is come into here. It's going to pass along this, any keyword that I use. So I should have this available both in here, come on, and from this search up here. So I will search a preview up here with some words, and it will add these words for me up here. Get rid of the extra stuff. And there's nothing in the movie database for this particular movie. Fantastic. Should have used one of the other ones, but anyway, I've got the information that I'm looking for at the moment. I've got a new piece of research information that I can use to look up things for these movies. The one I was using before was The Longest Yard, and there's that. And you can look in here. I can use this. I can grab this piece of information here and just dump it into a description, and I'm good to go. In a couple of seconds, I've got all the information I need to make a functional item that I can then just shove right up to eBay, and everything is good to go. Now, to make things even quicker, I've got my item template in place. I've got everything else in place. I've got a whole bunch of UPCs on these things that I can use. So now if I do add catalog items, all of these are going to be DVDs. I'm going to use the stock photo. I'm going to use the stock photo as a gallery. I've got a barcode reader in my hand, which you can't see, and I'm just going to go through and beep, beep. I'm going to click OK. It's going to go through the catalog, find these other four that I've got here. There's My Longest Yard. That's going to bring in a lot of the information here, both from the item template and the item specifics are going to come in from the catalog. Why is everything acting goofy? Because I've got a screen recorder on. That looks better. So I've got my category, I've got my condition, I've got everything else I need. My item specifics are taken care of. All I need is that description, so I can go back up here, do a search with preview, go to my new research tab, get rid of some of this stuff. Same thing I was just doing. Yard, grab this, pop it in there, back to here, close this out. And now I'm good to go. And everything, this should be a fully functional, everything's good to go as far as the listing. I can come into here, into the preview, do the check item, do my check, and everything should come back with fast. It cost me 25 cents to run this up. The problem is that my descriptions are a little bit lackluster. And we can improve on that dramatically, and that's where we will be heading next. All right, by default, when you come into an item and you start using the description editors, you're going to be using the default editor. The ones that come with, that ship with 6-bit. You'll notice on the side here, you've got a whole bunch of things that you can use over here. These are all replacement variables that you can use to insert different pieces of information into your description here automatically. So instead of having to go into every description and add these things, I can just throw a picture URL in there or a picture in there or any of the snippets that I had previously created. We'll get to that in a little bit. So anything common that I want to add into this description, I can just click into there and take care of with a couple of clicks. The problem being is the only thing you really want in your description is a quick little piece of information, something that pertains to this item. For everything else, you really want to take advantage of either the snippets or the description wrappers. So if we go into description wrapper, currently there's no description wrapper in here, which results in just the description being passed into eBay, which is fine for a lot of applications. But if you want to get a little bit fancier with it and add some different things in here, you can come in here and create yourself a new description wrapper. I'm going to call this SB test. I'm going to edit this. And the editor that comes with 6-bit will get you a long way, but it's all for just basic things. If you're looking for little bits of layout and to try to really polish up your descriptions, you're probably going to want to go with an external editor. And you can find these settings for your editor in the 6-bit options. So if you go into your 6-bit options, on the creating item tab, you have your selection of editors. For today, we're going to be using the Blue Griffin editor, which is probably the best one that I've found, and it works nice with 6-bit. Blue Griffin is it's relatively up to date. It's 2017 was the last release of this. It's a lot more. It's got a lot more features than some of the other ones you got out there, and it's got a lot more features than the built-in editor as well. So it works out nice. So if I go into here and I set that as my external editor, now when I come in here and I edit something, it's going to pop up in the Blue Griffin editor, which I can do a bunch of things with. I can look at both the output, the way it's going to look, and the actual code that's behind it, which is helpful. And if I go back into my description wrappers, I'm now going to edit this, and it's going to pop up in Blue Griffin. Now, I did an example one up the other day. I'm just going to, for the sake of time, I'm just going to copy and paste this in. If I go into my dual view, I'm going to pop this in here, give you a good look at it. It's just it's a simple layout. All I'm doing is having a couple of divs, a little bit of CSS to make the spacing nice. I'm using some Bootstrap just for a couple of the layout features that it has, especially the container fluid, and it'll help you a lot for doing things like responsive design. In this one here, all we're doing is using the replacement tag for a product title. The description down here, we're going to throw a few images in here, which you can see down here. I'm using the picture URL2 replacement tags, and down here we've got some terms and some miscellaneous stuff here. Now I see a lot of folks out there when databases come in, they're just dumping this entire thing into the item description. And as I said previously, you don't really want to dump your entire content into item description, mainly because of the fact of if eBay comes down and makes a change and you got to change all of these and you're doing a lot of hunting and replacing and hoping that you don't have spaces in places where the search isn't going to catch them. It's better to dump everything into a description wrapper or a set of snippets and run that way. So we've got our images, everything's laid out here. I'm good with this. All I want to do is do a quick save in here. I will close this, and now that is in my description wrapper here. If I go back and edit it, you should see the same thing. Boom, there it is. So now I've got a description wrapper that I can use. I am done here. I can come into here, hit my description wrapper, choose this wrapper, save and exit. And if I chuck this up to eBay, make this just a 3-day listing. Commerce ID. I'm in the wrong spot. If I go out to eBay, I've got my description wrapper all taken care of. I didn't put any images on this one, so I don't have any product images to show you right here. But if I go back into this listing and I add, if I go back out to the listing, I now have the product images in here. So it's simple to do. I've got everything in a nice description wrapper. All I have to do for all my other DVDs is add a picture. Which one was this? Company. Add a picture. I'm going to go out and grab my description. Save and exit. And submit it up to eBay. I can do that with a whole slew a heck of a lot quicker than I could just by going one by one down through all these things. Into here. Here's my new listing. That. Did not set my description wrapper. Not a problem. My description wrapper. Back to SB test. Quick revise. And now everything looks the way I expect it to. So there's a bunch of different things you can do in the description. There's a whole slew of things you can add to the, as far as snippets. You can add your business name. You could add your category in there, your condition in there. You can add, increase your starting price is one. But the let's say you've got a piece of tech that you want to sell. I just happen to have this one I set up earlier, selling an old Motorola Droid. So everything's set up here. Everything looks good. I don't have a description wrapper on it. I'm going to use that SB test one that we just did. But let's say I've got some external information that I want to be able to add into this thing, and I don't have space for it anywhere else. I don't want to just chuck it in the description because it could change from item to item, but I want it in a specific spot. If it's an item specific, a quick piece of information, you can come in here and create yourself your own new custom item specific for this category. I'll call this diagnostics. So I've got a brand new item specific in here. I can make it private, meaning that it won't go out to eBay, or I can add my own, leave it public and just have it sent out with it. So any kind of custom pieces of information you needed to throw out there. This is some test text. just to have some content in there. It's going to show up in your item specifics because it's going to go out. eBay will only accept 25 pieces of information from the item specifics, so keep that in mind. If you go crazy with this, you're only going to get the first 25 that goes out, and the ones that are starred are going to go first because those are eBay required. But let's say I had more information than this and I want it for every single item. If I had that situation there, I would come up here and I would make a custom field. For your custom field, you can set yourself a new custom field up here. I've got some diagnostic information I'm going to stuff in one of these. I'm going to call it feature tests. It's just going to be a text field. I'm not going to make it have a default value, but you can set your own values in here as well. So now I've got a custom field up here called feature tests that I can dump some information in. Just some checks. Let's say that I went through and did all of these different things for this particular phone. I've got 2 pictures on it. Now I have all that information saved in there. Any piece of information you want to save in a custom field, you can chuck in there. I will save and exit that. I'm going to go back and I am going to make a new description wrapper based off of this one here. So I'm going to duplicate this one and I'm going to call this one SB phone. It's going to pop up in the editor. I'm going to go into my dual view. I'm going to make a little bit of change here. I'm just going to add a new column in here. Instead of boring you with the HTML, I'm just going to paste this in. Now I've got a column here. I got my description on the left. I got my features tested on the right with a set of feature tests in here. I am good to go here. I will save it. I will close this out. And now I have SB phone. So if you come into here, I'm going to set my wrapper to the new SB phone. I'm going to save and exit. I think I've got that one ready to go, so I'm just going to submit it. That was not the one I was looking for. That's the one I'm looking for. And with a couple of quick changes to things, I now have a nicely formatted list of things in here. And all it took me was a little bit of code, a little bit of patience, and everything is exactly the way I want to see it in my layout as it goes through. So now if I've got more phones that I need to sell and I've got that piece of information for all of them as I go through, all I have to do is add a couple of key pieces of information to SixBit and submit it because I've got all the rest of the legwork already taken care of. Now, as an aside, a couple of quick things that are nice about the custom fields. If you come into your custom fields and you create the exact same, if you go under listings and create the exact same name and do the same on, we'll set one up for orders too. Now you're not going to see it immediately because I just set this up. But I will relist this here in a second. There it is. It's not going to be into the listings at the moment, but what you'll see happen is that information will flow from one state to another all the way down through. So you can actually keep those little pieces of information all the way down through and actually see them on the orders. Let's go back to items. We're going to relist this. Go back to our listings. And in here, you'll now see that that information flowed from the item to the listing. So if you're looking for little pieces of information that you're trying to keep straight between one status and the next. So now if an order came in for this phone and it went through, when it came in to ship orders, I'm not going to have any orders in this database, but that's fine. When the order comes through, you'll see that same piece of information stuck under the same tag because they all share the same name. All right. I am going to pause and see if there's any questions waiting for me. There are not. All
Yep.
right.
So
In
far.
that case, that kind of concludes my section here. I will turn things over to Steve and we will open things up for questions.
Awesome. Thanks, JC. All right. So, yeah, I mean, you guys can feel free to pop in here to the chat, or if you want to send a private question, you can use the Q&A, um, and we can message and answer your questions privately. We're also recording this, so if you guys want to reference this at a later date or whatever, we'll have it on our YouTube channel, and we'll be posting it up on our Facebook page as well. So it'll be out there for everyone to take a look at. So if you search, if you just go to Facebook and type in the search bar SixBit software, we'll be the first one to pop up there. And you can click on the page, load the page up, and then like us or share, yeah, like us on Facebook or whatever, and then you'll be able to see all our posts. And I think you can you'll see the upload for the webinar there as well on our Facebook page. Sure. Yeah, let me get you that link. What's going on here? Oh, Dustin beat me to it. Yep, that should work. Okay. See any questions? Um, Hey Dave, yeah, we're actually just JC just finished up his run through of descriptions and wrappers and custom fields and using all that in descriptions. So we're doing Q&A really right now. So if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A pod or write in the chat. We also take some feedback if you guys want to see something covered in upcoming webinar. I know earlier Laura mentioned she wanted to see some Amazon stuff, um, adding information and stuff through Amazon. We can cover that in an upcoming webinar. Maybe some Etsy stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have any ideas or input or feedback, anything, you can just email support at 6-Bit Software, open a ticket, and we're open to new ideas and input. Mike Scarlett asked, eBay allows 12 pictures in the above left section. Yep, those are your item pictures. And then basically you can add those pictures below in the description. Um, there, there's a limit of 12 because that's the most you can add and eBay will accept. But if you have self-hosted URLs, you can add additional ones in the description there as well. So they'll show in the description, they're just not going to be part of the item pictures when you send it up to eBay. Hey Kevin, I'm just going to answer your question here out loud. I think Dustin, basically what Dustin was saying, is just to conserve space. There's a couple things you can do, and the one that he mentioned was actually deleting items, to save space. So you can basically go back and highlight any items that you're never gonna sell or that you'll never have stock for again, and highlight and delete those. The only thing with that is you delete an item and it removes all the listing history and sales history for that item. So a lot of people don't really tend to go that route. Another thing you can do is delete any pictures from the database that are no longer needed. So you can select a group of items in the grid, sell items, right click on them and then choose pictures, delete pictures from the database. And then that will actually go through and remove the pictures on the items that you selected there and save space that way. And then there's a couple other options. You can move pictures to external storage to save space, um, which basically stores them, takes them from the 6-bit database and moves them to a location on the hard drive. Or you can um, upgrade to SQL Server if you're approaching that 10 gigabyte limit. So yeah, so if you're getting close to the limit, you have some choices. I'm not sure if we have an article in our users guide on this. Yeah, so if you go to the users guide and type in database size limit, um, there's some uh, there's some topics there that you can run through and get a little bit more information, a little more in-depth information than what I just explained through the users guide post there. Yeah, so if you just type in database space or size limit, you'll see that there. That should answer any questions you have further. Leo asked how to tell when you're approaching the 10 gig limit. If you go to in the bottom left corner of 6-bit, you'll see a support tab right under ship orders. If you click on that support tab, there's a section there that shows you database size. So if you're approaching the database size limit, which is 10 gigs for SQL Server Express, you'll get some notifications um, each step of the way. You'll get a notification if you're 4 gigs or 6 or 8, and it'll just tell you um, your hard drive or your database size is starting to fill up, and you'll have some options that you can consider at that point. All right, Mike said, in regards to the images and description, not sure about the difference between picture one and picture URL one. Okay, so let me see if anybody answered that.
Basically, in that case, picture one is the picture itself. Picture URL one is going to be just the link to that picture. So if you take a picture and you run it up to eBay Picture Services, you're going to have two sets of data there. You can have the URL where that picture resides on EPS, and you're going to have the picture itself. So if you're dealing with your description and you want to chuck just the picture there, you use picture. but in most cases, you're going to want to use picture URL1. Actually, I may have that wrong. I don't think it does go for the bytes. I think picture1 is going to generate a image tag for you in HTML. So you can have image source equals whatever the EPS URL is. In certain cases, you don't want the whole thing there. Let's say you're doing your own custom HTML and all you're after is just the URL to that picture. Then you would use picture URL1 instead of picture URL. So it doesn't generate the whole tag for you.
Thanks, JC. Petros asked, are you going to support storefront for outside eBay website? So, I mean, we currently support eBay, Amazon, and Etsy. Um, we have plans of adding channels in the future, more channels like Shopify and web carts and that sort of thing. Um, was there anything specific you were looking for? Okay, Laura said she's working with previous items and she needs to add more and new items and she's not sure. Um, if you go to our YouTube channel, you will see, I think there's specific videos on creating new items. And I believe in not the last webinar, but the one before that, I covered creating items manually using creating items using an item template, which JC covered here. So once that's posted, you can go back and reference that. Um, but yeah, you should be able to find that info and videos on that pretty easily. Yep, I can send you a link. Just a second.
I could walk through making a new item if you want.
Oh, that'd be cool.
All right, let me just pop this back in here. All right, making an item from scratch. You're going to start off in your sell items mode here, and basically all you're going to do is just click this big plus. You'll get a blank item window here. It's not going to have anything filled out, so you can just go as you will. And I've got to wait for this to come back. There we go. So you chuck in a quick product title. Let me grab a book real quick. Link pocket reference. Let's see if we've got a match. Hey, there's my book right there. So I can make a catalog match off of this. It's not going to set my category, but it's going to give me some of the details there. So you're going to come in and books. I put this under textbooks education. This is like new. Everything looks good. I don't really need to worry about item specific since I found a catalog thing here. The catalog, if I click show details, it's going to show me all of these. All the things it's going to send for me here, which apparently isn't much for this particular one. I can throw in a quick description if I want. I can look something up if I want. This is a book. I'll set my price. We'll say this is $15. Set my payments and shipping. Payment. Return. Yours are going to look a lot better than mine because I've got stuff from all over the place in here. Package size is going to be probably a large envelope. I will save that. Then I'm pretty much done. There's not much else I really need to throw in here. I can always do a check item, which is going to bring up this preview window and check. If I'm missing something, eBay is going to tell me. If not, they're just going to give me this past here. Let's just say I set something wrong or I forgot to set something. Let me get rid of, I'm sure I got one of these that's going to be bad. Oh, returns are a hot topic at the moment, so a lot of these are probably going to be bad. If I save that and I check my item again, more than likely I should get something back there. Either invalid, so it's going to tell me right off the bat what I've got wrong. So I've got an invalid shipping policy and I've got an invalid return policy. If I've got a price wrong, it's going to tell me. If I've got anything else wrong, it's going to tell me. When I get done and I save and exit with all my changes, if I want to send that up to, it's going to be under construction. If I want to send that up to eBay, all I got to do is right click and submit, set my duration, set my format. If I want to auction with buy it now or a fixed price. You can force it as new. If it's something you've listed before, you probably don't want that on because you want the relist history on it. So leave that off, submit it up to eBay, and you're done. That's basically all there is to it.
Oh, sorry, I left my mic on there. Clark's asking about the new payment system. Oh wait, also pressing proposal to use zones. Uh, Not 100% sure about zones for first class packages. I know with the new payment system, Clark, it should have your payment preset, whether you're using presets or policies, it should have no impact on that at all. It's basically a setting on your account that you enable, and eBay opens it up to allow the buyer to pay, um, more payment options for the buyer when they check out buying your products. Um, and I think just to go through when to enable that sound. Okay. Not sure. Um, but yeah, you basically link your bank account and um, like when you opt in, you'll link your bank account and there's a couple other pieces of information eBay wants from you. But you basically get paid to your bank account going forward if you're opted into that. So it really doesn't change um, payment stuff in 6-bit on your listings really at all, I don't believe. PayPal called me and said, Dave said PayPal called and said this will be all the new payment, no PayPal option. No, I'm not sure who from PayPal called you about that, but I believe PayPal is still going to be um, available for buyers to use when they check out until at least 2022. I don't think PayPal is going anywhere. Oh, I see what you're saying. So yeah, you as the seller. Um, so yeah, if you opt in to the um, new payments, eBay's new payments stuff feature, uh, correct. When you don't get paid through PayPal anymore, it goes to your bank account that you are required to link. But you can still pay for shipping and a couple other things through PayPal if you want after the fact. But yeah, your funds do not go to PayPal after you enable that. Clark asks, it was my understanding that SixBit cannot process manage payment orders. Is this correct? Not 100% sure. I'd have to look into that one for you. I know if you print postage or do anything else outside of SixBit, the order will come in and the payment, I think the payment type is just set to other, so it really doesn't capture, I don't think it captures how the buyer's paying. Um, but yeah, we would have to test that. I don't think it would. I don't think you'd be able to print postage actually, but I can look into that and give you a better answer. I don't believe Jeff asks how you can opt out of the managed payments beta. Uh, I don't think you can. Once you're in, you're in, unless you can call eBay and somehow have them disable that and revert it back. You'd have to call eBay for that though. eBay support would be your go-to. Nope, Indicia. I don't think Indicia's getting phased out or anything. You should be good to use Indicia, as far as I know, forever. Hey, Chris. Chris Ezel asks, I've noticed sometimes I have lowered a quantity in inventory and then relist the item later. It can sometimes pick up the original amount and not the lowered amount, even if I go into the item and not just the listing. Am I doing something wrong? Doesn't sound like it. So you basically decrease the inventory, and then you relist the item at a later date. Um, I mean, that should work. If you can reproduce this and see it, I'd definitely email support and get some help with that so we can investigate further. But I've seen people, in some cases, sellers don't process orders and awaiting payment. So basically, there'll be old historical order data there, and you'll see on your items awaiting to ship one until you actually fix that. I've seen that happen, but what you're talking about doesn't sound like that would be part of it. But yeah, I mean, if you see that happening, you know, continually, I would definitely email support. Okay, so you change the quantity to list. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'd probably need some more details on that and exactly what you're doing to dig into that further. Christian asks, do you have any plans to implement eBay worldwide with SixBit? Are you referring to like submitting a listing on multiple eBay sites like Canada and that kind of thing? Yeah, so with the new eBay API, our developers are working on the implementation for that now. Um, that is going to be possible. So it's basically going to be offers, and it 6-bit, I believe, is plans on supporting multi-site listings in the future once that's implemented. All right, let's take a few more questions. Looks like our attendees are starting to go down here. So if anybody has any questions, just go ahead and get them in now, and we're gonna wrap this one up. And if you have further questions or need, want to put have some input for us on future webinars or need anything additional, you guys can open up a ticket with support or just write into 6-bit support at 6bitsoftware.com. Yeah, no problem, Leo. All right, Clark said his other concern with new postage rates is a combination explosion in the number of shipping presets. Could cut the number of presets if international and domestic were separate. I believe, hmm, I believe they are. There's a setting for, well, there's a setting for presets to be split based on business profile. So if you're using multiple business profiles, you can have payment and shipping presets that are split between those. Um, and I believe like the return policy stuff is separate between international and domestic as well now. But I can't remember if that's a beta thing or I'm not sure if it's in the latest full. Yeah, it looks like, yep, Dustin answered Chris there. Yeah, we once in a while we'll still get people, old Blackthorn users that write in about I guess the grid functionality in Blackthorn allowed you to directly make edits to items and that kind of thing right in the grid itself. Um, Unfortunately, you can't do that with 6-bit. You'd have to export, update, and then re-import. Or you could use the batch edit. So if you're trying to edit items, we have a batch edit items window that would allow you to do essentially that is just edit items and fields in a grid-like format. Um, but yeah, that's the only thing we have really. All right. Well, looks like all the questions have answered. We're going to wrap this up. If you guys, um, have any more feedback, like I said earlier, just email us or put in a ticket, and we can take any questions, comments, feedback, anything you want to see in a future webinar. We're going to try to cover got some plans on covering some Amazon stuff uh, in the next webinar. So we'll see from that point where that goes. Thank you everyone for attending the listing descriptions and automation webinar, and we'll see you next time.